to that secret White House letter to Iran's supreme leader and how the news is sitting with our key ally in the Middle East, Israel. Joining us now, Ambassador Dan Gillerman, Israel's former UN ambassador. Welcome, sir. Great to have you here in our studios.
Well, it's good to be here, Uma.
I know that Israel must be very upset with the news that this letter was actually sent to Iran's supreme leader. Give me your reaction.
Well, Israel is very upset and very surprised because that letter is really a letter of appeasement. It is, it's sleeping with the enemy and the morning after sending him a love letter. And as we know, it's not the first time. It's probably the fourth communication between the president and the Iranian leadership. It totally disregards the fact that the recipient of that letter is a terror state which perpetrates, harbors, finances terror all over the world, is really the main reason for the rise of ISIS, supports Hezbollah and Hamas on the borders of Israel. And to do this is a sign of weakness. The message it sends out to its allies, to America's allies, and especially to Israel, is a message of weakness, of a weak America. And the worst thing is that the message it sends out to the Iranians is how eager the United States is for that deal, how eager the United States is to cooperate with this evil, fundamentalist, extreme, cruel and cynical regime in Tehran. And that's very, very bad news. You know, everybody was talking at the time, many years ago, about Neville Chamberlain, who was Prime Minister of England, standing with an umbrella saying, I have a piece of paper here attesting to his agreement with Hitler. We know what happened the day after. This is a paper umbrella from a paper tiger with a message of weakness to the rest of the world. And what it says to America's allies is that they cannot rely on the United States. And what it says to America's enemies is that they can get away with murder. And in the very tough neighborhood, in the very, very cruel and cynical world we live in, this is very dangerous.
What do you think would move this president to send this kind of letter at this point, at this moment?
No, I think the president is desperate for some kind of achievement in foreign policy. His foreign policy has been a row of disasters, especially in the Middle East, but also vis-a-vis China, also vis-a-vis Russia, and especially when it comes to Iran. And I think it's a sign of desperation. But, you know, as you know, whether it's in politics or in business, when you negotiate, you have to come from a position of strength. What the Iranians are seeing, and believe me, Uma, I know Mohammad Jawad Zarif, the chief Iranian negotiator, was their foreign minister. He served with me at the United Nations as Iran's ambassador to the UN for 4 years. He's very shrewd, very charming, very able. What he sees in front of him is a weak America and a president, probably traumatized by Afghanistan and Iraq, who desperately wants a deal and is actually beseeching the Iranians to cooperate, disregarding that they're a terrorist rogue regime. And at the same time, Europe, which is eager to do business with Iran. And I think what that bodes for the rest of the world is just sitting and watching how a bad deal is actually being finalized, and it makes us very nervous.
We have the report from the IAEA that just says that Iran is not providing the information that it was supposed to so far. You're just weeks away from that November 24th deadline. Clearly, it looks as though Iran is just sort of sitting back and saying, you know what, we're not going to play ball. If you want this agreement, you'll have to do it on our terms.
Well, why not? You know, if you sit at the table with a side that is so eager for an agreement, you take advantage of its weakness, you negotiate the best deal you can, and I think that's what the Iranians are doing while playing the clock. And, you know, we've seen it before. We've seen it with North Korea. With North Korea, there was even an agreement, and we know North Korea went nuclear. And I think what will happen is that there may be a bad agreement. The world will be lulled by Iran, who is a master at playing the clock, and one day we'll wake up to a nuclear Iran. And believe me, Uma, a world in which Iran has nuclear capabilities is a world we do not want to live in. It will be dangerous, it will be ugly, it will be cruel. Iran's fingers are all over the map. They're not just threatening Israel. They're not just, you know, trying to advocate a second Holocaust while denying the first one. They're a threat to the Arab world, to the Sunni world. They're a threat to Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. And they're a threat to civilization as we know it. And it's beyond me how the president does not realize it. He is supposed to be the leader of the free world, and the weakness he shows at these very crucial times is very worrying.
Mr. Ambassador, always great to see you and talk with you. Thank you so much for joining us here in our studios today.
Thank you, Uma. It's always good
All
to
the
be
best.
with you. Thanks.